Hi all, happy Friday afternoon. Welcome to Ask James, my Friday afternoon live stream on YouTube for the benefit of those on the audio. My name is James. I am one half of the Planet FPL podcast and Premier League football is returning. Yay! I don't really know how to feel. I got my colours on already. I got my Spurs shirt on. I'm ready to go until Manchester United destroy us in game week 30. Then I realised it was a complete waste of time. But yeah, I even had a look at a league table yesterday. I was trying to figure out in my head. I was like, wow, yes, if we win that many games, could we still finish fourth? And I very quickly got myself out of it. And like I said, realised that we'd probably get destroyed by a counter-attacking Man United in the first game back. For those who are new to this format, essentially what happens is there's no script, there's no plan to this. It's up to everybody in the YouTube chat to ask questions. If you don't ask questions, nothing happens. I will cover every question, every comment that I possibly can in a certain amount of time, depending on how busy it is. Let's talk football. Get your questions in the chat, guys, on YouTube. Let's have some fun. Let's see who we've got in the chat. We've got Nick Griffiths in, says afternoon. Angus McPhail saying afternoon. Or Recluse is in. FPL Badger, our Norwich correspondent Mark is in. Chris Duckworth, Paul Coleman saying afternoon. All right, let's get into the questions. We'll start with friend of the show, Benny Blanco. Says, afternoon, James. Do you still think there's an advantage of playing at home, even without supporters? And if so, how significant will it be? I think it's very difficult to measure that. We've seen in the Bundesliga that home advantage feels like it's gone out of the window, but that could just be a random. It really could be a random. We know we have the odd Premier League week now and again, once a season or something, where it feels like every away team wins or every home team wins. Just a weird quirk that happens. And it could be that's just what's happened in these first 2 weeks back at the Bundesliga. I suspect, however, that home advantage is obviously not weighted in the same way that it would have been. We've seen this morning that the police have requested for 5 games to be moved to a neutral venue. Everton Liverpool is one. I think we could have probably guessed that would be on the list, but there's a couple of Manchester that are really interesting. I don't know if that's because the police in Manchester feel, I don't know, under any particular stress or duress to police the areas during these particular dates. I mean, I wouldn't have deemed Man City v Newcastle or Manchester United against Sheffield United as fixtures that would be particularly volatile for any reason, basically. So, but that's what it seems like the police have requested at the moment, for those fixtures to be moved to neutral venues. I mean, interestingly, on certainly Manchester United, Sheffield United, it's likely to be rearranged, I think, anyway, possibly. I might have that completely wrong now. One thing we have obviously learned is there are going to be postponements. And I don't just mean the whole calendar, but we have now had it confirmed this morning that the FA Cup will be played during this resumption of the schedule. And FA Cup ties will be played on the same weekend as Premier League games. So we obviously don't have the full details of that yet, but that means that there's going to be a couple of catch-up mid-weeks that they've booked into the schedule. And I think we're due to finish sort of second week of August or something. I need to go back and get that clarified, because I literally just see the news about the FA Cup before I come on air. But to answer your question, Benny, it's certainly less of an advantage for home teams, of course. But it's really hard to quantify and predict. I mean, it's going to be really awkward for us and the content creators to try and predict what would be good FPL assets to pick when we come back, because there's no form to go on. I mean, the statistics are from 2 months ago. It's essentially like starting a new season. So, yeah, you can look at last season's data, but then, I don't know, were you making your choices in August based on the previous season, or did you go off pre-season form or something that, you know, new managers, new systems you'd seen? We've got nothing to go on in terms of fitness of players. I saw a picture floating about this morning where Kevin De Bruyne looked slightly overweight, but Kevin De Bruyne's a monster, right? And there's every chance that Man City are going to start with a double game week. If so, you could hardly go without him. So I think, yes, we will see a drop-off in home results. The advantage is essentially cancelled out, other than small things like the feeling of being in your own stadium. But you also get the awkwardness of feeling like I'm at home and no one's watching. Be like getting invited around your parents for a surprise party, and you get there and no one's there. It's a bit weird. So it's going to be those that I think are mentally strongest are those that are going to perform best. Benny also asked, what teams do you think will be most affected by the lack of home support? I think Sheffield United's one. I can't really explain why. They're obviously a very good side. We're past that stage of feeling like we're underrating them, I think. Just feel like the certain intensity that they play with, they're going to miss it. I think Liverpool will miss it. I think there's the flip side where sort of Manchester City style, etc. I just think they'll play the same way. Don't think it'll bother them. Sides like Arsenal might do very well because there's no noise at the Emirates anyway, so it'd just be like any other game for them. So Arsenal shouldn't be too badly impacted. I don't know. We'll all be guessing, won't we? We'll all be guessing. Will it affect the sides at the bottom of the table who notoriously get into April and they seem to win a little more games than they had done previously? Part of that's the intensity brought on by the atmosphere of the importance of occasion. I don't think we know. None of us would be doing anything more than guessing. I really don't know. I feel like Man City just won't be bothered because stylistically how they play. I think those who counter-attack and are well coached should do well. Thinking like Wolves, thinking Manchester United, if they get it right, could be another one. But I don't know. We're going to see average goals go up? Possibly. Are we going to see it go down? Possibly. We'll be yes until we see it, I think. Angus McPhail asked the question that we absolutely knew was going to be in this chat. Since someone has to ask, thoughts on a wild card for the FPL resumption? First thing to say is, there's some very interesting chats on Twitter yesterday. Are we going to get a wild card? We're not going to get a wild card. I mean, I don't care. And what I mean by that is it's something that I can't influence. We can all say, yeah, I want this, I want that. I've got no role in the decision-making process of what will or what won't happen. So I'll go with whatever terms I'm given and just get on with it, basically. I suspect we will not get another wild card. And I think the reason for that being is there's a little bit of an unfair advantage potentially on those who still haven't played their first one yet. As in their second wild card. Obviously, a lot of people still got that. Now you can look at it and say, okay, so does that mean you got two wild cards? I think what's very likely to happen in terms of their engagement of the type of audience that they want, and let's be honest, it's not really us who are very engaged in the game, etc. It's the people that they need to attract back into the game to get the global appeal of it, is more going to be, I think they'll go down the route of unlimited transfers. I think that's just the simple answer to do. And I think then those who still have that second wild card potentially have a benefit. So I'll give you an example of where I think we'll lie here. As much as people might not want a Wednesday deadline when we come back of 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, that's what we're going to have one way or the other, whether that's just a blank fixtures of the two that we know about, the rearranged Man City, Arsenal, and Aston Villa, Sheffield United games, which get us back on track. Or if that's going to be part of a double game week. I suspect to be part of a double game week. The reason I think it would be double game week is I just think that's the best way to get people's interest back in is unlimited transfers. There you go. There's 12 fixtures. You've got 4 teams with doubles. Off you go. Do what you like with it. Now, those who've already, if that's the case, those who've already used that first wild card have a very difficult decision to make. For those in the position who've still got the second wild card, we're probably planning to maneuver it around the planned double game week 37 or whatever it was, which, I mean, double game week is going to be a lot smaller. Whatever we have now is going to be smaller. That's a certainty. It could be that not double game weeks at all. It depends on what they rearrange into those spare weeks, but I suspect it's just going to be a long, drawn-out single game week where fixtures from the weekend will get played on the Wednesday. I haven't seen the schedule yet, but if we work on that assumption, that it's just a long, so you got, say, I don't know, 6 fixtures on the Saturday and the other 4 are moved sort of midweek as the catch-up, then, you know, in terms of bench boost, that first week's the start. Unlimited transfers, bench boost, wildcard straight out of it for the rest. So you can go heavy into the 14s with the doubles plus 3 very good teams. If that's what you want to do, that's my immediate thoughts at the moment. It could be that what we're given is completely different, but I suspect that's probably where it's at. Now, for those who don't still have that second wildcard, that's a different decision to make. Do you want to go all in on that at the start? And then how do you get away from it? Whereas those with that second wildcard, I think, yeah, bang, just straight into the next game week. It's almost like a free hit with a bench boost and then come straight out of it. That those players to obviously give yourself a balanced squad again. That would be my immediate thoughts. I would see it more as unlimited transfers than wildcard. It just makes sense from almost like game week 1, right? Do what you want with it. Start again. You've still got your budget of whatever was in your squad, etc. So you know, if you go down that route of, say, 12 players from City, Arsenal, Villa, Sheffield United, then you need to give some thought towards what you're going to do with the value players. So do you leave, if you've got a lot of value built up in, say, a Trent or a Mane, for example, are they definitely going to be one of your other ones? I mean, it's going to be easy to keep 3 Liverpool players in if that's the way you want to go, for example. A lot of us will have value built up in players, which we might want to keep hold of beyond that first game week back. So it'd be interesting. I like that idea of doing it that way. I think each straight away brings in strategic ideas of how people will go about it. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with these rearranged cup quarterfinals and cup semi-finals and the final as well, by the way, to see if they're going to fit into midweeks immediately afterwards or how that's going to work. That's the news we really need to see, because that's going to affect the chip strategy as well. But I'd suspect more than I'd look at that as perhaps a nice free hitter or something. I think those who have played the Sky game will certainly have a benefit in terms of strategizing how they're going to make their moves, when they're going to make their moves. I think we're going to get a long plan week. You know, you can probably plan your transfers to the end near enough if you're going to be certainly off that. If you can unlimited at the start, then wild card, and then from there you can make your plan right to the end, I think. And if that's the way it works, that's what I think a lot of people will do. So to answer the wildcard question, I just think it'd be unlimited transfers. That's the best way for them to engage people again. Paul Coleman says, so how to get Spurs not to play when James is streaming? All right, guys, spoiler on Champ Man FPL, and apologies for those not playing who just came for some FPL chat. I have been speaking with Chris, FPL captain, James Zalapa and Dave, Simple Goal, and Andy, FPL tactician. We've been private messaging, and we are working on ideas of how best we can keep the stream going amongst Champ Man FPL and clashes with Spurs and whatnot. No decision is going to be made on that until we've seen the fixture schedule in terms of the way it works and stuff. So, but we are in dialogue. We do want to keep it going. The guys are obviously going to keep the game going. So we're in talks. We'll make it happen one way or another. I'm certain. But yes, no, I won't be streaming if Spurs are playing. Very, very clear. Jeff Holt says, "Good day, James. Gave you and Suj a couple of shout outs in quiz last night. Much appreciated, Jeff. Hope you had a good night with the Wildcats." I was the subject of a question. Bloody hell. Do you want to throw that question in? Paul Coleman says, Liverpool supporters being put in difficult position with celebrating the league win. Any idea on social distance celebration? Nightmare. I don't know. I mean, how do you even stop? If you get in the car, still social distancing. All right. Are you causing traffic jams in Liverpool and whatnots? I think there's an awkwardness about the whole Everton-Liverpool game being moved. And obviously it's the first one back. It's almost inevitable that they're not going to allow it to be played in Liverpool. But I don't know. Just feel like we should trust them. We should give them the chance to do the right thing and trust them to just deal with it. You know, like speaking to Dan and FPL Local, or the Liverpool correspondent, and Mars from the Three Amigos at the weekend. It's like, yeah, you know, get ready for the Zoom party and whatnot. What else can we do? And yeah, I feel like the moment's gone. But they've had 6 months, let's face it, to be prepared for this league title win. They've known for a very, very long time that they're winning this league, whether they like to admit it or not. Just think, I don't know, it's friends, family, it's immediates, don't go out. I'd like to trust them and give them the chance to prove that they'll behave. And I don't think anybody wants us to, but I get nobody wants to see a scene where it becomes about the supporters causing trouble inadvertently in Liverpool by celebrating. No one wants that story of Liverpool to winning the league to become about the fans are gone over the top or whatever. We've got to trust them. I feel we're not going to. Well, the authorities are not going to, and I understand why. It's not necessarily a Liverpool thing. I don't know though if we'd be having this same conversation if it was Spurs or Arsenal in London, for example. Maybe because there's so many places it can disperse to in London. I don't know if that's a bit different. Plus, Tottenham's a shithole. I mean, it's my shithole, right? But people do come party elsewhere and stuff as well. I don't know if that's a factor of it. The close proximity of Everton and Liverpool as well. It's only Stanley Park separates them. How do you do it? You just got to do it. You've just got to stay away from it and not go out and celebrate privately in any way. And I haven't got a good idea of how to do it because I don't know what I would do personally. No idea. I'd probably start a stream and get drunk. That's what I'd do. FPL Irons, Quiz Ninja is in the chat. Hello, Irons. I'm in Luke, FPL Iron from the Wolfpack. I'm in his head. He took part in the quiz we did on Wednesday for game week 38, and I told him there would be one difficult question, which was question 1 for him. And sure enough, the only one he lost a point on was question 1. He also says, do you think Spurs can push for a top 4 spot with Son, Kane and Bergwijn now fit, and Ndombele and Lucas and Lo Celso and more? And suddenly it looks like quite a powerful squad, doesn't it? If we beat Manchester United, there could be a momentum that starts. However, I think we would have to beat them, lose them, and then forget about it. We could lose to United and win every game left, and which we wouldn't, and would be off the table. I don't think we can predict Luke. I think Spurs are too far away at the moment. I think if Man City's ban sticks and it's going to be 5th place rather than 4th, then chance. I can't see us catching Chelsea and Man United, and obviously you've got to catch Wolves and Sheffield United as well. I wouldn't say that 5th possibly. I think 4th is probably a bit of a stretch. It's possible, and it could be that having waited this long and been so frustrated with Spurs that if we come back and we beat United in that first game, then suddenly everything's positive and you can, they're within shooting distance and you can think, yeah, why not? Chelsea, with still being in the FA Cup, might get hindered in terms of Spurs being able to catch up games a little bit, which just psychologically can put the point pressure on us. So as you like to call it, scoreboard pressure. But I think very, very tough, Luke. I wouldn't imagine so. Alex Turner says, have they resolved the relegation? Yes, no question. I can't seem to find any confirmation anywhere. Or do we just assume they have? If we're restarting, Alex, there's going to be relegation. I think sporting integrity, massive. That's what we have to trust and believe is going to happen, is that relegation will happen. And it has to, by the way. In my opinion, we finished this football season, relegation should happen. As I've said numerous times, if we do not finish the season, relegation should not happen. There is a theory that playing the 2 games in hand, the 4 teams, Villa, Sheffield United, Man City, Arsenal, that they're doing it so everyone's on the same game. So if we get postponed again, then they can just say, right, you've all played the same games, avoid it. It's rubbish. It's just simple common sense to play those games first. There's nothing sinister in that at all. Danny Cunningham, hello, mate. He's in. Here's a couple of questions. Says, hi, Jay. Do you think Premier League fixtures will stay in the same order as they were or shuffle about a bit? I think they'll stay in the same order. Yes. And just for those, in case you kind of, I hadn't said it earlier, but if you're already thinking, oh, shit, is that a double game week as soon as we come back? Arsenal's would be Manchester City away and Brighton away. Manchester City would be Arsenal at home, Burnley at home. Aston Villa would be Sheffield United at home and Chelsea at home. And Sheffield United would be Aston Villa away and Newcastle away. And therefore, with those fixtures, I think even Villa, you could go and attack it. He also says, presuming City, Arsenal, Sheffield United, Villa go into a double game week, reckon there will then be 9 single game weeks. It's going to be very difficult on the FA Cup. I'm going to have a little look this afternoon, so I might tweet something out tonight. Although I do imagine that Ben Crellin is probably already on the case, working something out. In which case, I'll just share whatever Ben's workings are. But it depends when them FA Cup, when they've left a couple of midweeks open, is how it looks. So it depends. If those open midweeks are straight after the FA Cup weekends, then you're just going to get a very long single game week. If it's 10 days later, for example, you're going to get blanks and doubles, and it's actually going to be really difficult to maneuver. This is where free hits and second wildcards and stuff like that's going to come in handy. We don't have the information yet, Danny, but I will be very much on top of it. Darlin says, thoughts on Man United now the season starts again. I think it's a positive for kind of Luke's already mentioned FPL Irons about Spurs and players being back to fitness. I think a lot of neutrals are fascinated to see how this Pogba and Fernandes dynamic would work for United. They're also benefited by, Rashford's going to be back. I'm sure Rashford's back fit. It must be. It must all be back fit. And I think, exciting for United. United will definitely feel they can catch Chelsea. Definitely. Whether they can or not, I suspect it's probably more up to what Chelsea's form is when we restart. But I think, it's a little bit of positivity about United. I think that's also helped with the fact that they finished it. United's final game was beating City in the derby, right? So they went into this break. Obviously, no one wanted the break, but it's certainly more positive vibes than certain other clubs. If you compare, United and Spurs have got all their players back fit, but United finished with beating Man City, whereas Spurs finished with a completely inept first half performance at Burnley and then got smashed in Leipzig. So the morale of those two clubs is in very different positions. But obviously then they come back and we assume they're going to play each other first. I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if that's the Friday night game when we return. I've heard some talks about that in terms of in some of the press reports in London that technically on paper it's the most high profile of the fixtures following those first two, which would have been game week 30 fixtures. There's some talk of having that possibly free to air on a Friday night. And I guess, again, with the distance between the two clubs, although United fans are everywhere, it shouldn't be too much of a risk in doing that on a Friday night in Tottenham. So I think, United fans have every right to feel positive, but then suddenly lose to Spurs. Spurs will think, we can catch United. And suddenly, if Chelsea win as well, United might instantly fall into that, we've blown it again. But very interested to see that Pogba-Fernandes dynamic, certainly. Brad Lunda says, do you think we'll be streaming Champ Man if it clashes with Spurs games or other Prem games? I did cover that a few minutes ago, Brad. I will not be streaming any shit while Spurs are playing. It's not happening. You guys know where my loyalties lie. We are in discussions to try and find workarounds. I appreciate that, Brad, saying it highlights of your week. We've got more highlights to come now. Great if it remains the highlight of your week and stuff, and that's why we want to keep doing the streams and that. But real footy's coming back as well, Brad. I suspect your highlight might be beating Arsenal in game week 30. Fingers crossed for you, mate. Chris Duckworth, which squads do you think will come back most fit after this break? Are there any clubs you think will take a longer time to get up to speed than others? Be guessing, Chris. Just be guessing. Look, put it this way. No manager is going to come out and say, the guys that come back, they're really unfit. They're struggling for fitness. No one's going to say that till they've had that first defeat. And then they go, oh, then they'll start asking, oh, 3 weeks to prepare wasn't long enough, etc. So everyone's going to have the same line. The boys are fit, the boys are ready. There's no way of knowing. Some of them are going to be lying. Some of them are going to be right up to it. You know, I've obviously had a close eye on Spurs in terms of what they've been doing. From what I've seen, in terms of the videos I've seen of them training, not just now, but in isolation and stuff from home and stuff like that, I expect my team to come back in really good condition. But then they were nowhere near on a fitness par with other clubs before the isolation. So where does that meet with other clubs when we return? No way of knowing. Not a clue. As Auto Recluse says, lack of fitness and form will make fantasy football a bit of a lottery at the start. Absolutely. Everyone fit as well. What about these 5 subs? 5 substitutes every game we think is going to be permitted. It's not been passed off yet, but I think if the Premier League want to take up that option, they can. And I suspect they will take up that option. To clarify it, you can make the 5 changes if they decide to go with it, but it'll only be at 3 permitted times. So if you make 5 subs on 2 occasions, you will have to make 2 changes together. Does that make sense? There's only 3 occasions you'll be able to make the substitutions, but you could make 5. And the reason they're keeping it to the 3 occasions, obviously, time wasting, etc., all that kind of thing. Hello, Gabriel De Rock. Brad also says, speaking of teams playing behind closed doors, I think us, Brighton, may do better with our style of play because the fans get nervous with us playing from the back and without the crowd. That could help. I don't disagree with that at all, Brad. You're trying to, please don't take this the wrong way, Brighton fans, but you're trying to re-educate Brighton fans on what they're used to. So Brighton fans have got used to that kind of wall last year with Duffy, Dunk and defensive solidity and throwing bodies in the way and defending the box, if you will. Whereas now Brighton play a completely different brand of football. You need to re-educate people. I still get, Brad, after years of watching Spurs evolve into a very good football team through Martin Jol playing offensive football to then the Redknapp team that included Bale, Modric, Van der Vaart and the like, to the Pochettino, you know, high line and high press and always playing out from the back and stuff. To then Pochettino then decided, shit, everyone's pressing us. We'll alternate this and we'll start going a bit direct. People still shit themselves with the playing out from the back. The amount of people around me at the ground, I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. You know, you got Champions League football because of this style. Stop your nonsense. Let them play. I spoke about this with Gareth Southgate on this stream last week. Trust your team to play the right way. And I get that. Brighton fans are going to need to see that staying up and it works. I think 3-4 months ago, they were really excited with some of the things that they've been seeing in terms of style. But now you reflect on it and go, Christ, it's a couple of days till June. And partly through their own fault and partly because of coronavirus, Brighton haven't won a football match in 2020. So you're sitting there going, Christ, we haven't won for 6 months. You start getting that fear of that, not having that winning feeling. And then the playing out from the back and being brave. And that's the key word, brave. People shit themselves about it. And harsh this, right? And this doesn't apply to anybody in the chat or even listening to the audio. 98% of football fans don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about in terms of tactics, style, anything. All they care about is goals one more than the other. That's it. And how it gets there is irrelevant. And they don't like the passing. A lot of football fans are still stuck in that old English mentality of get the ball forward. And it's not many people that play like that anymore. I want to see my team be brave and play it out from the back and play through lines and then get at people, running at people. That's how I want to see Spurs play. So it needs to shift the mentality, Brad, and that'll be more difficult for Brighton. I just think Everton had difficulties with that, where I think even Sean at Spirit Blues would probably admit this. They're a side who, let's not say long, but they take advantage of the crowd at Goodison, etc. It's something they might be a club that struggles with it. Where, yeah, they're a supporter base who like seeing the ball go into the final third quickly. Now, that's not necessarily pump it long to Duncan Ferguson, but it's that they'll have frustration. They like to see the ball in the final third of the pitch. And I think that's something Brighton need to manage. And yes, to answer that, Brad, yeah, I think they are probably in reflect of that one of the sides that could benefit from that. Or recluses, I think I'll affect teams that I think it will affect teams that may be 1-0 down in last minutes. They may be that lack of push from the fans. People could be friendly mentally with the crowd. Very hard to say. Very hard to say, because then you flip down its head as well and say, our defensive team's going to be as switched on. If they're a home team and they're defending a 1-0 lead, are they going to be as switched on with 10 minutes to go as they would be if they had 50,000 backing them and praying that they hold on? So that flips both ways there. Brian Newell's in the chat. Afternoon, folks. Brian, DM me on Twitter. I don't know your handle, by the way. Andy Cairns says afternoon. Brian Newell, double game week means only 90% will get for that. All recluse. When the fixtures are confirmed, could you do a pod with Ben Crellin? Be very interested to hear both your views on that. Don't rule it out. It's probably partly up to Ben if he wants to do that sort of thing as well. Jeff Holt, what do you and Such have in common with Gavin and Smithy from Gavin and Stacey? Weight for me, definitely. Insecurities. Downright stupidity. FPL Andy says afternoon. Tom Campbell's in the house. Hello, Tom. Brilliant quiz from Tom in hour 2 of part 1 of the 24-hour stream from the weekend. Says, hey, James, if we don't get unlimited transfers and don't have a wild card, what about smashing the free hit for this double game week? Yeah, highly likely, mate. But again, it probably does. The free hit might be saying you need to manoeuvre the FA Cup rearrangements, and we need to get in the detail and see what that looks like, Tom. But if they're all going to be, like I said, just stretched out long single game week, then yeah, I would go straight into it. Yeah, definitely. Because a lot of them I don't want as well. I don't really want too many. Grealish, yeah, fine. Or Aubameyang could be fine, but I wouldn't want another 2 Villa Arsenal players at the moment, for example. So yeah, I think if that was the case, Tom, yeah, smash that free hit straight away. Benny Blanco says, how do you feel the return of FPL and Sky FF will impact the Champ Man game? I hope the involvement engagement remains high because it's been fantastic. Look, let's be real about this. Every single week, it looks like there's going to be 20 Premier League games on a 7-day rolling period. Now that is, was that 30 hours of football? And that's excluding half times, analysis, all that kind of thing. Blink, and you've used, let's say, a full day and a half. Let's add 6 hours on. Full day and a half of an actual week. Now, you need to sleep at points as well, right? So let's at least break that down into 3 or 4 days. What have you got left? You've got 3 days left, maybe, of actually awake time, not watching football. Because some people will watch every minute of this. I assure you, by the way, to be very honest, I won't be one of them. I need some time for myself, etc. Now, where do they then find the engagement for another 5 hours of streams from me, for example? There is going to be a drop-off. It's absolutely natural. But obviously, there's lots of people like yourself, Benny, and that who are saying, yeah, you do want the engagement. I know there's kind of a commitment in me to keep doing these Champ Man FPL streams, but it's a lot of factors it's got to be right for. It's got to be right for me. It's got to be right for FPL captain. It's got to be right for the other half, because for both of us as well, in terms of going back to work. Now, for me, this is hopefully becoming my job, but wife might have to go back to work soon. That's potentially going to have a big impact on things. We've obviously got a little one who's 18 months old. So it's to be confirmed. It's got to be right for everybody. You know, look, we're not going to be doing a Champ Man FPL stream when Man City play Liverpool. I don't think so. It might be that we decide to change what time we do it every week and match it up to with respect when Burnley play Crystal Palace. That might be what we decide to do. I don't know. Until we get that full fixture list, we can't really make a definitive decision of what we're going to do. But we certainly want to carry on is the message. Andy Ken's Bundesliga ghost games throwing up some different trends on the results. Small sample size, admittedly, but no crowd seemed to smooth out any home advantage. Yeah, true, Andy. I kind of covered that off at the start a little bit about the Bundesliga, but I think it could just be a quirk. Gary Smith, you star man, says Liverpool to win the league. Yeah, Liverpool win the league even if there's no football played. Covered that 100 times. Alex Allegratos, looking well, James. Fuck me. Poor you. Can't wait for the 17th. Yes, I've been very negative about it generally. I just think I got myself in a headspace again. Do you know what? It's not there. I've got other priorities, which was my family and getting content out there for you. Now that I know it's returning, you know, there's something to look forward to. You can feel it. Whereas I never wanted to get into that whole mindset of just, I miss it. I want it back. I want it back. I want it. When in myself, for long periods, I was like, I don't know if we're going to play football this year. And I wasn't joking when I said that. And we're not out the woods yet, by the way. We kind of, for those overseas who might not know, right? We're lowering lockdown levels in terms of can meet up in groups of 6 and stuff. I think it gives open field for people to think they can start, go back to work or do this. And listen, group of 6, group of 7. We'll do group of 7. No one's going to make any difference. Next couple of weeks, we could spike again. Genuinely, it could happen. Now, let's touch wood. That doesn't happen. But mentally, I'm ready for them to turn around in 2 weeks and say, this isn't happening. Now, I think it will now. I really, really do. And I think we'll get it finished. And I think it's very encouraging how few positive tests there have been amongst footballers is really positive as well. So, yeah, I think we'll get there now. But I'm not going to put myself too far in that headspace, I think, until we're there, until I watch Man City play Arsenal, basically. Brian Newell says, what is the emptiest ground you've ever been at? I saw Queen's Park versus Clyde at Hampden Park with around 800 people there, just the 50,000 plus empty seats. I can't beat that, Brian. Christ. You might be expecting me to say Selhurst Park or something, but Tottenham always used to take like at least 10,000 if we played Wimbledon there and stuff like that. I remember playing them in the League Cup semi-final in 1999 away from home. And Wimbledon had one side of the ground, the home end, which is now where the Crystal Palace Ultras sit. And there were plenty of Spurs in there, by the way, especially in the upper tier, the Holmesdale Road end. And we had all 3 of the rest of the ground, basically. The side where the managers sit now by the dugouts was probably a bit mixed. But yeah, 3/4 of that stadium that night was Spurs. We had well over 15,000, 16,000 in the ground. Emptiest. Jesus. I can tell you the answer to that, Brian. It's Wembley, isn't it? It's got to be. Got to be at Wembley, isn't it? I think the lowest crowd we had was, I think when we played Rochdale, it was about 22,000 now in the snow. Which is still a pretty decent effort considering the whole day everyone was like, yeah, that's getting called off as well. And the tubes were fucked and everything. It was still a decent effort to get that crowd there. Which obviously in front of 90,000 capacity looks terrible. But I guess that would be the answer to your question, Brian. It would have to be Wembley, I suppose, in terms of percentage of seats filled. Would have to be. Eystein Ori Mathiasson this afternoon. Thoughts on La Liga when they restart? I think Barcelona and Real Madrid are very much in transition periods. I hold my hands up and say I've not watched a lot of La Liga this season, so I wouldn't be well qualified to make a judgment in terms of who would go on and win it from there. Barcelona have a 1-point lead, do they? But I wouldn't be well positioned to judge that. Alex Allegretta says, hope United catch Chelsea. Cal Blunder, what team you support, pal? Are you kidding, Cal? I mean, there's a giveaway for the benefit of the audio listeners. I am wearing my Spurs cap and it's on video live. That might be a bit of a giveaway. I've also got the cockle on my shirt as well. Cal is an Everton fan. Welcome, Cal Blundell. Noor Zori, hi James, long time, miss you, mate. I miss you all, mate, but I haven't gone anywhere. I've been here. Alex Allegretto says, who do you think will get relegated, James? I think the current bottom 3 will go down of Norwich, Villa and Bournemouth. Patrick Lawson said, stopped in a lay-by to watch a bit of this and some nutter in a Lamborghini has just flown past at about 150. Boom. Cal Blundell says, we will see a lot of young players play the remainder of the season. I think, yeah, once I've mentioned this about a Palace example, for example, not going to qualify for Europe, not going to get relegated. Why would they give someone who's out of contract in a month a new contract? Play the kids for the rest of the season, get them integrated. And I think once we get nearer to definitive lines, so if Spurs end up losing to United and then lose to Sheffield United in game week 32 and can't do anything, then yeah, you might see a couple of kids, for example, getting blooded on that. I think the less higher stakes for the clubs, yeah, get them kids on the pitch without the pressure of the crowd as well. Just get the integration of the feeling of playing with first team players. Makes complete sense. Elite FPL Steve-O, afternoon, James. Just saying hello while you've kept me entertained while driving. Thank you, Steve-O. I know this is probably your favourite Planet FPL content of the week is these streams, listening to them while you're driving. I'm concerned that you just go and drive just because I do these streams generally around about 1 o'clock on a Friday. But thank you very much again for Saturday, Steve-O. I think everybody loved you when you came on and see your passion. If you want to see Steve-O's appearance on Planet FPL 24, go to part 2, hour 2. Brilliant stuff. Tim Lum says, afternoon, James and chat. Hello, Tim. Richard Roman, hi, James. Just come on. Hardly anybody talking about test and trace, 14 days isolation, etc. Don't want to be a party pooper. No, you're fine to be a party pooper, Richard. I think you're absolutely right. So, yeah, players who test positive, you're going to find that out. I've got this player playing this week in FPL. Oh, he had a test this morning, and you won't find out about it for 2 days. Why didn't he play? Tested positive. You won't know. Team news, right, is going to be so flat on the ground. You know, any of you messaging Rockstar hoping for team news, I mean, he really is a genius if he gets hold of shit this time. Don't expect it. Don't expect early team news and stuff like that. It's going to be so much limited access to stuff. So, yeah. Plus, you only have one game of possibility, I presume, as well. If every game is going to be played at a different time other than Tuesdays, if that's going to be a deadline, 5 o'clock, you might have a choice between maybe 2 games, possibly 3 o'clock at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday. I suspect it might still only be 1 game. So, yeah, Richard, you're absolutely right to say it's okay. We've tried to say it's okay to say you've missed football as much as I say I haven't. Of course, I've missed football, but I've just felt like I had more important things going on to dedicate my heart and my brain to be sitting there and going, I need to be back. Yeah, I can't control it. I don't get bothered by things that I can't control. I can't control at the moment the fact that I can't go to football. I've been dealt that card and I have to deal with it. I can control what content I put out. And it is okay to have missed football. And it's now also okay to still have fears about football returning. I've just said I've still got fears. I don't think this is 100% yet. But yeah, I feel positive about it now. And I do think it will happen. Steve-O says, Will ask though, do you think Premier League games will have a more friendly feel towards them, i.e. lots of goals? No idea, Steve-O. I think that could go either way. Either way, I think you could have some madness ones that are 5-4s, and I think you could have some games that are just 0-0s and 1-0s and incredibly drab, and afterwards you'll be like, my God, did I really give up 2 hours of my life for that? There's definitely going to be games like that. Don't know the answer. Unprecedented, right? Shit word. Everyone hates it now, but it is. Just don't know, mate. Martin Bill says, happy Friday all. Football's coming back. Everyone's get a wild card when we restart. No, Martin, jump back to the start. Covered that quite in detail. We think unlimited transfers. Or I do anyway. Heavy Finger 7. Cheers, lads. Football's coming back. By the way, just to add an extra chip for people. I mean, unlimited transfers. It's the same thing, isn't it? Just unlimited transfers. Do what you fucking want with it. Heavy Finger 7. Cheers, lads. Football coming back. Cole Norbury, I'm 3 points ahead of you in CMFPL, James. We've been within about 10 points of each other every game week so far. Interesting battle, yeah. I got 108 points last game week, and I went up from 137th to 133rd. Bloody hell. I mean, it's brutal. I've still got the triple caps in my pocket, so I can't complain at still hitting the green arrow this week. But yeah, you think 108 points. Surely I'm going to get into the top 100 this week. No, not even close. Jeff Holt says, the answer to what you and Suj have in common with Gavin and Smithy is the teams you support. All Wildcats got it right. Psh, over my head, Jeff. But yeah, thanks, pal. I'm glad they all got it right. It's good that they know us. Liam H says, Ret and Spurs can get top 4. The answer is yes. Will we? almost certainly not. Chris Duckworth, what do you think will happen with those who triggered their bench boost ahead of game week 38? Fucking idiots. We're told not to. I mean, that's it. They've lost it. I imagine the game will restart and they'll have it lined up. They'll just input everything back. It'll be like winding the clock back to game week 30 or something. And the chips that you didn't use will still be there. And you'll start with unlimited transfers. And that'll be it. And all the prices will still be the same and all that. And it'll be crack on. I mean, yeah. I'm sorry. For those who use the bench boost in game week 30, I've got absolutely no sympathy. The official account actually made it very clear. Don't do that. John Harris, have thoroughly enjoyed playing virtual FPL in this lockdown period. Do you think simulated FPL games could continue to be popular and fill that void in the off season? Yeah, why not? I mean, tricky next year because there's obviously not going to be much space between end of Premier League season and European Championships, and then probably restart of 21-22. This is going to be very fast turnarounds in the next 2 years or so. Then is the season going to start earlier in 2022 to accommodate for the World Cup? So that's probably going to be it's going to be really quick football turnarounds now, probably for the next 4 years, I would suggest. And then you've got another European Championship, 2024, so possibly even until 2025. It's going to feel like there's no space in the calendar, possibly. And from that perspective, difficult. Depends, right? I mean, obviously Scout and Steve-O's been doing his videos for virtual FPL. Me and the Champ Man guys have been doing our Champ Man thing, and there's obviously mass engagement in it at the moment, really popular. To get that kind of engagement again, even in 2-3 weeks, I think a lot of people will fall off in terms of their interest to that. That's perfectly understandable. I mean, it's a shame a little bit that obviously in the Champ Man game, we're just getting to the halfway point and so many people can now join for the second half of the season. So they might now think, oh, I don't want to do that now, which is a little disappointing. It's up to the guys, right? It's not about me and the streams. It's about the game makers in Champ Man FPL in terms of what do they want out of it? What do they want out of it? Are they still going to get the same enjoyment thinking, oh, I've got to do these sheets and I've got to do these tweets when really I could be watching a Premier League game? That's the test. The guys are not going to know, certainly Andy, James, Dad, I'm really going to know what they want to do with it till probably a long while after the restart. So all we can do for those players is continue to give them our thanks and our support, basically. Rob Pick says, I won't ask your thoughts of FPL and Premier League returns. I'm sure you have already covered this. Just wanted to return to thinking football. Who are your shouts for relegation? Apologies, you've covered. You probably heard me say that, Rob, since you've been on. I think the current bottom three would be my tips. Pelo's Pen, James, are you any more excited than you have previously been? I certainly am. Yeah, because now you can, as I said, you can see the date now. You know, that's June 17th, playing football again. So then you can start making plans. And from an FPL perspective, I've kind of given a rundown in terms of a very basic, that even knowing the fixtures, what you might want to do from a strategy perspective. You can start layering things now, whereas I didn't want to give it any headspace because I just didn't know it was going to happen, mate. But yeah, I mean, of course, positive about it. Gutted I can't go, but I knew that would be the case as well. Tim Lum, I think Hull v Spurs at end of 16-17 season may have been it for me, or one whole City game anyway. I was there that day, Tim. Good day that. Beautiful sunshine. Nice. Good day that. Really, really, really good day. So answer to one of the quiz questions on Wednesday. Spoiler. Heavy Finger 7, with this TV rebate, 330 million, do you think it will push Premier League even more to explore launching its own streaming platform and cut away from traditional TV deals? Yes, possibly. Particularly if the Newcastle ownership get their hands on the TV rights as well in terms of overseas broadcasting, could make up for any potential shortfall as well. So, yeah, I think TV and football, excuse me, is a very developing story to keep an eye on in the next couple of years. FPL Badger says, boo, okay, who is your prediction to win the FA Cup? Norwich City, Mark, there you go. Mark, you know, mate, you're going to do very well to avoid this relegation, mate. I will only tell it as I see it. The easiest thing for me to tell at the moment is I think the current bottom three will go down. I think Brighton, as Brad's alluded to, I think they'll be okay. I think style-wise, they'll get some results. Watford are in a strong position now with Nigel Pearson, probably been the form horse down there for the last couple of months. I think West Ham will have enough quality, actually, as much to take the piss out of them. I think this could be the year for Bournemouth to go. Villa, similar to yourselves in a way, Mark, don't stop conceding goals. Doesn't matter what Jack Grealish does at the other end. It's going to be too much for them. Prediction for the FA Cup would be Manchester City. You can't really look beyond them in terms of that's going to be their main focus as well, isn't it? They're going to rest players in the league for the FA Cup, surely. Surely that's what they're going to do now, because European football is not going to restart till the domestic football is all finished. So the league isn't going to matter. To City fans, it's the FA Cup that's going to matter. Go and put that trophy on the board again. And then in theory, they've got great shot in the Champions League in August as well, if it happens. And they could finish the season with 3 trophies again. And then it's an incredible season. Rob Pick says, how good a pick could Phil Foden potentially be with City having very little to play for? Also, any update on Planet FPL Slack? Good questions, Robbie. I think Foden will certainly get minutes for City. I don't see the attacking returns at the moment to make him a good FPL choice. Slack news coming soon for our patrons, Rob. You're not the first person to ask. We will get it sorted. I haven't yet got through thanking people for their donations and giving up their time for us on Saturday and whatnot. So that's my number one priority, is to, it's a ridiculous list of just giving people thank yous. I know people are like, oh, you've already thanked it. Well, yeah, I know, but you know me, I want to properly say thank you to people. And I'm still working through a stupid list of that. And then I think once that's done and we know what's happening with fixtures, first thing for patrons will be, to get that Slack channel up and running. Suj and I already had a brief discussion last night about what we might do from a podcast perspective when the season restarts. If there's going to be football every day and we're going to podcast every day, we've got an advantage, right? So we're thinking about best ways to make that happen. I'm trying to figure out in my head how I can still do Clash of the Correspondents, bearing in mind the fixtures and how quickly something might be out of date. And obviously you've got to have 4 people in the right place and the right time. And it's the hardest one because there's 4 different bits of audio to put together. So it's not something I can record at a Thursday afternoon and then get out in time for you for a Thursday night 6 o'clock deadline. It's not going to happen. So I need to speak to people like Mark FPL Badger and figure out a best workaround for that. I do want to keep the guys involved. So you know me, Rob, we're making plans. We're right on it. It's great to see positivity from people like James Drury from Surgery tweeting yesterday. He's like, as soon as we got the information on fixtures and that, we'll pod again, which is really pleasing because James was a bit negative about things about the weekend. So it's really good to see the Surgery boys will be up and running again soon. And for everybody at Scouts, obviously, straight away gone into overdrive, haven't they? And it's great for the content creators who have been, I don't know what to do, to think that they can suddenly get back on it. I mean, for the listeners who take in numerous different content creators, I mean, you're about to get into a boom period before the boom of the football as well. So exciting times for the FPL community as well, actually. Rob Picks is only one man around it with guaranteed team news, hashtag Scout. Yeah, but Rob, nobody wanted the Chelsea team for Champ Man tomorrow. No one actually gives a shit. You haven't told us anything. No one cares. Brian Yule, should Man City bother to play David Silva since there's no crowd to say goodbye to? Oh, that's a brutal thought. I hadn't thought about that, Brian. Look, David Silva will get his chance to come back. I'm sure David Silva wants to finish with the FA Cup and the Champions League, right? I mean, that would be the ultimate way to bow out, crowd or no crowd, leave him with the Champions League trophy. So, yeah, David Silva will still be a part of City, no problem. FPL Badger says, shame for Silva if that's the end. Yeah, wonder who else is due to retire, go overseas. Martin Bull, I look forward to the do what you fucking want chip. Yep, that's coming, mate. FPL the Adam. Hi, James. I think we'll find when FPL returns that it's never been more important to have a full playing bench. Rotation highly likely due to volume of games. Some virus-related absences. Carnage, yeah. Absolutely spot on. You're going to need a playing bench. Yeah, none of this. I mean, even goalkeepers. I'd have a playing goalkeeper. No fuck about. Once we know how it looks with the fixtures, we can all make our plans. At the moment, all we can do is hypothesize a little bit at the moment. Auto recluse doesn't matter. I am putting an asterisk on my overall this year, so let's just crack on. Have fun with the game. Yeah, I think for the official account, it's just about getting players back engaged and enjoying it again, and listening to people like us strategizing and whatnot. Chris Duckworth, just to clarify, absolutely did not bench boost for game week 38. I haven't logged on since the Premier League stopped. Chris, I didn't doubt you for a second, mate. I don't believe anyone in this chat has bench boosted in game week 38. It can't have. Brian Newell must have missed that. People played FPL chips when there was no football. Weird. Yeah, Brian. Yeah, long story. Go back. Tim Lum, I went to the game as I had the day off from retail. Joe was talking about that whole Spurs game in 2017. Not a Hull City fan, but I lived a half a mile from KCOM Stadium at the time. I was up there. It was a great day. Badger's given the ha-ha and thanks. Notorious Nerd says, which 3 pool players will you have when the season resumes? I might not, but Trent and Mane certainly spring to mind. Will it be a double game week when the season resumes, and is it worth 3 hit? It's late how the fixtures resume. But as I covered earlier in the stream, so not to repeat, Nerd, that I think, yes, we're probably likely to start with double game week and unlimited transfers. And you've also asked about home and away form and Bundesliga games, which I also covered earlier. I've been going on for just under an hour or so, guys. So I'll wrap it up there. Thanks very much. Good little number in the chat this afternoon, guys. Give the video a little like. Be much appreciated. Have a really good weekend. Obviously, if you're catching up, you don't want to go back to the video. We'll publish this as an audio a little later today as well. Stay safe. Be nice to each other, guys. I'll obviously be Champ Man streaming tomorrow from 2:30 p.m. I don't know what we're doing content-wise next week. There will be content and free content, obviously, every day next week. It's how FPL it is going to depend on how much we know in the next coming days, and I think information is continually getting left out. If I missed you for any reason in the chat, guys, or you have some questions you want to ask, feel free. My DMs are open at Planet FPL Pod. You can also DM Sujan Shah at Sujan Shah, although he probably won't respond for a couple of weeks. Other than that, guys, just want to say ciao for now. Be nice to each other. Stay safe. And for the benefit of the audio listeners, cue music, please, man, child.